Hey everyone, this week we are going to continue multiplying decimals. We are moving past multiplying decimals by whole numbers. You do have a couple on here that you will multiply by a whole number, but this week we are going to really focus on decimals times another decimal. So instead of doing the first few where you have to multiply by a whole number, I'm going to let you guys do that on your own since we learned that last time. So this week we're going to focus on decimals times decimals. So let's look at this first problem here. 6/100ths times 2/10ths. So our process is going to be the exact same. We are going to not line up the decimal whenever we set up this problem, okay? In addition, we would normally set up the problem like this. We would set up the problem like this, where we have our decimals in line with each other and our place values lined up, but in multiplication, we do not do that, okay? And whenever we set up our problem, we treat this just the same way that we would treat a normal multiplication problem. So we start with 2 times 6, right? That would be what? 12. So we would write our 12 like we normally would. 2 times 0 would be 0, plus the 1 would be 1, right? And then 2 times 0 would be 0. Now, if we do the second row, we have 0 times everything, so that's just going to stay 0, right? So honestly, right now, it appears that our answer would be 12, but we have to be sure that we go back and put in the decimal. And this is the only tricky part, and it's really not super duper tricky, okay? We've got to find where to put the decimal, right? If I go back and look at my problem, I'll use green to do this. Remember last time we looked to see how many place values or how many digits we have in those two numbers, in this number and this number, right? How many digits do we have to the right of each decimal, okay? So for example, I have 1, 2, 3, right? Because here's my decimal in yellow. Okay, there's my decimals. Anything to the right of that, I've got to count those. So I have 3 place values where, or not place values, I have 3 digits that are to the right of those decimals. And so if I know that, okay, then I need to start with my decimal, right? If I treat that, it looks like a 12, right? If I have 3 places to the right of those decimals, I need to move this decimal 3 places to the left, 3 jumps, 1, 2, 3, to the left. So my final answer would be 12 thousandths. So if I have 6/100ths times 2/10ths, I would end up having 12 thousandths. And that looks like a big jumbled mess, right? It looks like it, but really without all of the circling, okay, I would end up with this, 0.06 or 6/100ths, right, times 2/10ths. 2 times 6 is 12, and then 2 times 0 is 0, plus the 1 would be 1. And then I'm just going to use a different color to help you remember. Then I count how many place values or how many digits I have to the right of my decimals, right? To the right of the decimals, and I have 3. So I start with my decimal all the way to the right of my final answer. 1, 2, 3, right? And I add my zeros in where they go. My final answer would be 12 thousandths. So that looks a little bit less jumbled, right? And you saw how quickly we can do this, right? So let's try another. Let's try this one. 6/10ths times 4 1/10. Okay, so I set up my problem the same way that I would set up any multiplication problem. This time it just so happens that my decimals are in line, and that's okay, but really we are just pushing all of the numbers to the right as we did up at the top, right? So if we look, start with 1 times 6, and that would be 6. 1 times 0 would be 0. So my top row would be, it looks like 6, right? So we continue to the next row. I cross out that 1, add my placeholder 0 there, right? Because now I'm multiplying by the 10, or not really by the tens place, sorry, by the ones place instead of the tenths place, right? So I have to add my 0 in here to make sure my place values are correct. So then I would do 4 times 6, which is 24. So 2 goes there and the 4 goes there. 4 times 0 is 0, plus the 2 would be 2, right? I add these together. 6 plus 0 is 6. 4 plus 0 is 4. And then 2 plus 0 is 2. Now, I go back into my problem, count how many digits I have to the right of the decimals. And how many do I have? 2, right? So I start with my decimal all the way to the right of my final answer, not my partial products, right? Not the partial products, but the final answer is where I move my decimal. So I move it how many times? 2 times. My final answer would be what? 2 and 46 hundredths. Okay, so you guys, I've already done 2 for you. That means that you can do all of the ones with whole numbers at the top, and then you can do the 5 that have a decimal times a decimal. You guys can finish that up for homework. It is due on Friday, January 12th. And if I scroll down, here is the superhero for this week to get your dojo point for watching this video, because you guys are awesome and you try your best to learn and improve yourself. This superhero's name is Falcon, okay? And I can write his name on here for you just in case you don't know how to spell it. His name is Falcon, and if you just write his name and your name on a sheet of paper, like a small piece of paper, and give it to your teacher, they will give you a dojo point. All right, guys, I hope you have an awesome week, and try really, really hard. Again, never give up. Give it your best always, and if you have any questions about these, please ask your teacher. We want to help you. All right, see ya.